Now, Andrew, over the last couple of days, we've been reporting the criticism of Peter Dutton levelled at the Prime Minister about his response to the Israel war and the atrocities there. He believes there should have been a faster, swifter convening of the top officials. What's the latest on that front?
Well, we've heard a bit over the past few days about the National Security Committee of Cabinet and whether the PM should have called one earlier after war broke out Saturday night in Israel. And as Kieran says, Opposition Leader Peter Dutton has been on about it. The PM reacted last night.
What I don't do is foreshadow or either past, present or future talk about National Security Committee. The way that I deal with National Security Committee and national security issues is to take them seriously. We don't foreshadow when NSC meets. We don't produce the minutes of NSC. That's the way that national security, diplomacy and intelligence should operate, not as a political game.
Well, it's an interesting difference between the two parties on this, isn't it? Claims of a perceived lack of experience in security matters was something former Prime Minister Scott Morrison sought to exploit in the last election campaign to no avail. Prior to last year's election, the former PM used to emphasise at the start of press conferences how he had just held a lengthy National Security Committee of Cabinet meeting. He used to introduce the subject. He was trying to point to the fact at the time Anthony Albanese had only been fronting or being part of national security meetings for 2 or 3 months, the time he was Deputy Prime Minister when Kevin Rudd made his comeback. Obviously that tactic didn't work as well as Morrison would have liked.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm joined by the Minister for Defence. We have just completed a rather lengthy meeting of the National Security Committee of Cabinet.
And I was the Shadow Immigration Minister. I designed the policy. So you were on the National Security Committee, I think for the first time at that time. And so why did you not support turnbacks?
I was on the National Security Committee. We had established offshore processing just in 2013 when I became Deputy Prime Minister. That was the first step. We support boat turnbacks.
But you didn't when you were Deputy Prime Minister.
And that's the People's Forum we held during the last election campaign. Seems a long time ago now, doesn't it? It's only 18 months ago. Albanese believes he's more focused on the outcomes than talking about the fact he holds meetings. Just as the PM celebrated the release of Cheng Lei thanks to diplomacy with China yesterday, his predecessor Scott Morrison was calling for Taiwan to be made an adjunct member of the Quad grouping of countries with Australia, Japan, India and the US in a speech overnight.
Taiwan's future is uniquely central to global peace and security, and we all understand that that future is under constant threat. Therefore, building meaningful and credible resilience within Taiwan and the region, and deterrence to protect and preserve that peace and freedom here in Taiwan, and importantly, to protect the status quo, is absolutely essential in what is an extremely challenging environment and under constant and considerable strain.
So there you have it. Scott Morrison's in Taiwan. Anthony Albanese is about to go to China and be the first Australian PM to do so since 2016. Meanwhile, last night, Anthony Albanese was ensuring 4 days after the attacks on Israel that he was reassuring the Jewish community about the government's backing with this visit to a synagogue in St Kilda.
Tolerance is a bad word, I think, because it implies just, okay, we can tolerate you. Much more than that. What we need is understanding and embracing. And the Australian people, I believe, are certainly embracing of you and your community as a very flawed Catholic. It's a great honour for me to be here with you today to just express my support for this community.
All right, we're all praying for no trouble on the weekend as police in New South Wales continue to deal with several social media type threats against Jews here. Police are ready for anything, I'm told, and they expressed that in a press conference in Sydney a short time ago.
We have enough resources to protect them, and the arrest of the male yesterday shows that we will continue to chase down the offenders who commit these unnecessary threats of violence.